Have you ever noticed how some folks get happier the older they get, like life finally slowed down enough for them to breathe, and then others seem weighed down like they're carrying a lifetime of stress? The funny thing is, the secret might not be doing more, but doing less. Less worrying, less controlling, less chasing. And that kind of laziness, it's not about giving up, it's about finding peace. Let me explain. If you're watching this and you're in your 60s or beyond, maybe you've started asking yourself some deeper questions. How do I slow down but still find meaning? How do I enjoy these years without feeling like I have to keep proving myself? This video isn't about working harder or pretending to be young again. It's about finding peace by letting go of the things that no longer serve you. And honestly, that might mean becoming just a little bit lazier, but in a wise, intentional way. I'm going to walk you through 5 areas where putting in less effort might bring you more joy, not just because you're doing less, but because you're finally doing what matters. So grab a cup of tea or settle into your favorite chair. This time is for you. Let's talk about how to live with more ease, more clarity, and more heart, starting right now. Let's be honest, getting older can feel like a juggling act. Somewhere along the way, we convinced ourselves we had to keep it all together, keep fixing things, keep showing up, keep everyone else happy. But what if all that constant doing is making us more tired than fulfilled? I mean, think about it. How many times have you gone to bed at night thinking, why am I the only one worrying about everything? It builds up, quietly, until you feel heavy for no clear reason. What if the answer isn't to add more effort, but to subtract some stress? Maybe the things you've carried all these years were never really yours to hold. This is your invitation to pause, to let go, to breathe, and maybe, just maybe, let yourself rest from the emotional weight. You've earned it. The first. Stop worrying about others' opinions. Let me tell you a story about Martha. She's 73 now. Smart, kind, always made sure everyone else was comfortable, but for most of her life she walked out the door wondering what people would think. She'd second-guess her outfit, her words, her choices. Even at church potlucks she'd bring 2 dishes just so nobody could say she didn't contribute enough. Sound familiar? Martha spent decades putting her energy into staying agreeable, likable, and presentable. When her husband passed, something changed. One morning, she looked in the mirror and asked herself, who am I trying to impress now? That same day, she wore her favorite floral dress, the one her daughter once called too loud, and took herself to brunch. She read the comics, ate French toast with extra syrup, and didn't care one bit who was looking. That was the first time in years she felt free. Letting go of worrying about what others think? It's not easy. That stuff is drilled into us from a young age. Be polite. Don't make a scene. Don't stand out. But here's the truth. Most people are too busy thinking about themselves to notice every little thing you're doing. And those who are judging you, they are not your people. When Martha stopped adjusting her life to fit everyone else's expectations, she started discovering her voice again. She told me, I didn't even realize how much space other people's opinions were taking up in my mind until they were gone. That's powerful. And look, being lazy about what people think doesn't mean being inconsiderate. It doesn't mean you bulldoze over others' feelings. It means you stop living through their lens. You start asking yourself, what do I want? Instead of, what would they approve of? Think about all the energy we spend worrying, the outfits we don't wear, the words we hold back, the things we say yes to when we want to say no. It adds up. Over time, it drains you. So let's flip that. What if you said yes to comfort, to honesty, to joy? What if you showed up exactly as you are, not because it's perfect, but because it's real? Martha started saying no more often. She stopped attending the monthly garden club that stressed her out and joined a knitting circle instead. She skipped a few holiday parties and stayed home with tea and a book. And you know what happened? Nothing bad. The world didn't fall apart. But something else did happen. She felt lighter, like she'd taken off a heavy coat she didn't even know she was wearing. She told me, I'm not invisible anymore. I'm just finally visible to myself. That right there is what this is all about. So I want to ask you something. What's one thing you've been doing just to keep up appearances? One thing you've been saying, wearing, attending, or pretending just to fit in? What if you permitted yourself to stop? Not tomorrow, not when you earn it. Now. Peace comes when we stop auditioning for a role we never wanted in the first place. You don't have to impress anyone. You don't have to explain yourself. You've lived enough years to know who you are. And that's enough. Be lazy about the judgment. Let it roll off your shoulders. Practice it once, then again. It gets easier. And who knows, you might just inspire someone else to do the same. Because the truth is, someone out there is watching you and thinking, I wish I could be that brave. Let them see you being brave enough to be yourself. You know, my Aunt Louise was 92 when she finally stopped dyeing her hair. She said, I've been pretending for 40 years. I think I'm done now. That day, she walked into the senior center with a silver bun and the biggest smile. Everyone noticed, and no one said a word, because confidence is louder than any criticism. There is also something freeing in laughing a little louder than expected, or wearing those purple shoes you love, or finally learning the ukulele even if your neighbor rolls their eyes. When you stop caring about how it looks, you make space for how it feels. And it feels good. Good. It is never too late to stop worrying about what others think. And the best part? Once you stop, you'll wonder why you ever started. So be bold, be quiet, be loud, be strange, be soft, be you. You've earned the right. The second, stop forcing relationships. Now meet David. He's 68, a retired mailman, and used to be what he calls the glue, always checking in on distant cousins, texting old college friends, organizing birthday dinners and planning family reunions. He remembered every anniversary and every grandkid's school recital, even when others didn't bother to RSVP. And for years, he thought that was what love looked like. But over time, he noticed something. He was always the one reaching out, and when he stopped, nothing. Silence. Weeks would pass, then months, and not a word. One Thanksgiving, after chasing down RSVPs, listening to a dozen excuses and getting flaked on at the last minute, he finally sat down, stared at the empty table and whispered, "You know what? I'm done." So that year he made himself a plate of his favorite food, baked ham, buttered corn, mashed potatoes, and called his neighbor Carla. She was alone too. They shared stories, laughed at an old black and white western on TV, and ended the night with apple pie and coffee. Later, he told me, "It was the most peaceful holiday I've had in years." Here's the thing. Healthy relationships don't need to be forced. They flow. They feel mutual. When you're always the one texting first, always making the plans, always giving without receiving, eventually that starts to wear on your soul. You can't keep watering a dead plant hoping it'll bloom. Some connections simply aren't meant to last forever. And that's not failure. That's life moving you towards something better. It's hard, though, because we grow up being told that family is everything, or that good friends are worth fighting for. And yes, those sayings carry weight. But not every family bond is healthy. Not every friend from the past belongs in your present. David shared with me that after he stopped chasing, he started noticing the people who did show up. Carla invited him to her game night. A guy from his old bowling league reached out just to say he missed him. Even the young clerk at the grocery store started calling him Mr. D and asking about his day. These weren't flashy friendships, but they were real, effortless, warm. And here's the magic. When you stop forcing what isn't working, you make room for what naturally fits. That kind of shift doesn't happen overnight. At first, David felt guilty, like maybe he was giving up. But over time, that guilt faded, and what replaced it was peace. He told me, "I thought letting go would feel like losing something, but honestly, I feel like I got part of myself back." So, if you're in that space, tired of being the glue, tired of holding relationships together with your own two hands, maybe it's time to loosen your grip. Stop pouring your energy into people who only show up when it's convenient. You are not required to carry connections that constantly weigh you down. Let yourself be a little lazy about reaching out. See who reaches back. Let yourself be quiet. See who notices. Let the balance speak for itself. This isn't about cutting everyone off or building walls. It's about choosing peace over pressure, choosing depth over obligation, choosing to invest where the return is love, not guilt. David's story is just one of many. Maybe yours sounds a little like his, or maybe you've been on the other side, realizing too late that someone stopped calling and you never asked why. That's okay too. Awareness is where healing starts. So here's your invitation. Review the relationships in your life. Which ones lift you? Which ones leave you drained? And which ones are you only holding on to out of habit? Permit yourself to stop chasing. The ones who care will meet you where you are. And if no one shows up right away, don't panic. That space you create, it will attract better energy, new people, and fresh joy, but only if you make room. Let go, not in bitterness, but in freedom. Because the best relationships, the ones that stick, the ones that feel easy, the ones that make you feel seen, never have to be forced. And neither should you. The third, stop trying to change others. Let's talk about Grace. She's 71 now, a retired nurse from Ohio. A caretaker by nature, she spent her entire adult life trying to help everyone around her be better. Her daughter's spending habits, Grace would step in. Her husband's diet, she'd toss out the snacks and replace them with greens. Her brother's love life, let's just say she had a lot of opinions. Grace wasn't trying to control people to be mean. She just genuinely believed she could help. That maybe if she gave enough advice, reminded them enough times, and nudged them just the right way, they'd finally do what she thought was best. But here's what she told me one afternoon over tea. No one changed. Not really, but I sure got tired. One day, after a phone call with her daughter ended in tears and silence, Grace sat down and felt something break inside, not in a dramatic way, quietly, like a whisper saying, "You can't carry them anymore." She opened her journal and wrote one sentence, "Their life is not my project." Then she underlined it twice. That small act started a new chapter. Grace made a decision. From that moment forward, she would stop trying to change the people she loved, not because she stopped caring, but because she finally understood that real change doesn't come from pressure. It comes from within. She stopped giving unsolicited advice. She started listening more, asking questions instead of giving answers. When her husband brought home cookies, she didn't sigh or hide them. She smiled, took one, and sat with him. When her daughter vented about her money problems, Grace simply said, "I hear you." That was it. And you know what happened? Slowly, the energy in her home changed. Her daughter started asking for help, real help. Not lectures, not lists, just, "Mom, what do you think I should do?" Her husband began eating more salads, not because she told him to, but because he saw her enjoying them without judgment. Grace started painting again. She joined a book club. She took walks in the morning without her phone. She began reclaiming parts of herself that had been buried under years of trying to fix everyone else. Letting go of the urge to change others doesn't mean you stop loving them. It means you start loving them more healthily, a freer way, a way that doesn't cost you your peace. Here's the truth. People do not change because we want them to. They change when they're ready, when they feel safe, when they have the space to grow without fear of being judged or pushed. And more often than not, they are more inspired by our example than by our advice. Think about it. Has anyone ever really changed because you nagged them into it? Maybe temporarily, but lasting change? That comes from something deeper. It's like trying to force a flower to bloom. You can't do it by pulling at the petals. You give it light, water, and time. And then wait. Grace's story is powerful because it reminds us that stepping back is not giving up, it's trusting the process. Trusting that the people we love are on their own journey, one we don't always get to direct. It also teaches us that we matter too. that our energy, our time, our peace, they are worth protecting. So if you've been feeling drained from trying to fix everyone, let this be your permission to rest, to let go, to hand back the responsibility that was never really yours to begin with. You are not a life coach unless someone hires you. You are not a therapist unless you are trained for it. You are not responsible for everyone's growth. You can be a safe place, you can be a kind listener, you can be a steady light, but you do not have to carry their change on your back. Grace still checks in, she still cares deeply, but now she does it without expectation, without pressure, and she smiles more, sleeps better, breathes easier. Let that be your story too. Stop trying to change people. Start showing up as your full, peaceful self. The rest will unfold on its own, because the truth is, your calm might just be the most powerful influence of all. The fourth, stop chasing people who don't value you. Let's talk about Joe. He's 71, a veteran and a widower, and for years, Joe carried a quiet burden. He was the one trying to hold his family together, reaching out to his son every week, remembering birthdays, leaving voicemails, sending cards, and each time he hoped for a callback, a visit, a thank you, something. But the calls grew fewer, the silence stretched longer, and birthdays came and went without so much as a message. At first, Joe made excuses. He's busy with work. The kids must keep him running. But over time, those excuses stopped feeling like enough. And one afternoon, after another unreturned message, Joe sat down at his kitchen table and wrote a letter. He didn't send it. He just needed to write it. It said, "I love you. I'm here. But I won't chase you anymore." Then he folded it up and tucked it in a drawer. That day, Joe made a decision, a quiet, powerful one. He would stop chasing people who didn't choose him back. And here's the thing, Joe didn't do it in anger, he did it in peace. He realized that love, no matter how deeply it's felt, can't be a one-way street forever. He still loved his son, still hoped the phone would ring, but he no longer let that hope steal his joy. Instead, Joe started volunteering at the local animal shelter. He said he missed being needed. But what he didn't expect was how he'd feel there. One of the staff, a young woman named Tracy, called him our rock. He fixed fences, walked dogs, and taught the teenagers how to hold a hammer. That was the first time in years he heard someone say, "We're glad you're here." Sometimes we're pouring love into places that can't or won't return it. And that doesn't mean we're unlovable. It just means we need to redirect our care. There's a myth that the more you give, the more someone will eventually see your worth. But the truth is that worth is not proven through overgiving. It's realized through mutual respect, effort, presence. Joe told me, "I spent so long knocking on that closed door, I didn't notice the open ones around me." Letting go of the chase created space for new friendships, new routines, and for Joe, a new sense of dignity. And here's what you need to know, not everyone you love will stay. Not everyone you give to will give back. And that's not always a reflection of you. Sometimes people grow distant for reasons that have nothing to do with your value. So if you find yourself always initiating, always planning, always checking in, and it's met with silence or surface-level responses, it's okay to pause, to pull back, to see what happens when you stop trying so hard. This doesn't mean slamming the door shut or harboring resentment. It means choosing peace over performance. It means loving people from a healthy distance when closeness starts to cost your well-being. When Joe stepped back, something interesting happened. His son eventually did call, months later, and Joe picked up, calmly, kindly, but with new boundaries. That call didn't erase the years of absence, but it marked a shift. Joe wasn't chasing anymore, he was responding on his terms. We teach people how to treat us by what we tolerate, and Joe, by choosing not to chase, retaught his world how to meet him with respect. So ask yourself, who are you running after right now? Who hasn't met you halfway in a long time? And what could happen if you permitted yourself to rest, to stop explaining, stop hoping they'll change, and just let things be? When you stop chasing, the right people remain, the ones who call just because, the ones who remember your stories, the ones who say, "I missed you," and mean it. You deserve that kind of connection. Honest, mutual, gentle. So be a little lazier with those who never return your energy and a little more present with the ones who do, because love should feel like home, not like a test you're always trying to pass. The fifth, stop trying to control everything. Linda, now 65, used to run her house like a tight ship. Every detail was planned. Meals were prepped for the week, laundry folded just so, and even the throw pillows had their proper angles. She had a to-do list for everything. From morning routines to grocery runs, every moment was accounted for. And sure, things looked good on the outside, but on the inside, she was tired. Not the kind of tiredness that a nap could fix, the kind of tiredness that seeps into your bones, the kind that comes from trying to hold it all together. Then, one winter, arthritis crept into her hands. Slowly at first, then all at once. Suddenly, she couldn't open the jars. Folding laundry hurt. She had to sit down to put on socks. At first, Linda fought it. She tried to power through. She didn't want to ask for help. Letting go of control felt like letting go of who she was. But one afternoon, as she struggled to cut vegetables for dinner, her husband gently said, "Why don't I cook tonight?" And instead of arguing, she just nodded. That dinner wasn't perfect. The pasta was overcooked, and he forgot the garlic bread. But they laughed, they ate together, and afterward, she felt something she hadn't in a long time: relief. That moment sparked a shift. Linda started letting go. She let her husband fold the towels his way, let the grandkids jump on the couch without scolding them, let the dishes sit in the sink overnight without guilt, and little by little, life got softer. She realized that trying to control everything had robbed her of joy, of spontaneity, of rest. Here's the truth. Control is an illusion. You can plan the perfect picnic, but you can't stop the rain. You can schedule every detail of a family gathering, but you can't control who shows up or what mood they're in. And when you finally accept that, when you let go of the need to manage every outcome, something beautiful happens. You make room for peace, for presence, for life as it is, not as you wish it to be. Linda began spending her mornings on the porch with a cup of coffee, just watching the birds. No rush, no checklist, just breathing. Her home was no longer pristine, but it was peaceful. Letting go didn't mean she stopped caring. It meant she cared enough about herself to loosen the grip, to stop micromanaging every moment. She told me, "I used to think letting go meant giving up. Now I see it means trusting that everything doesn't need my hand on it to turn out okay." So let me ask you, what are you gripping too tightly right now? Is it your schedule, the way your kids run their households, the look of your home, your health plan, your spouse's habits? What would happen if you relaxed your hold? Just a little. Not everything needs fixing. Not every mess needs cleaning. Not every moment needs managing. You've done enough. You've held things together for decades. Maybe now is the season to let a few things be undone, to rest, to trust. Start small. Leave the dishes in the sink overnight. Let someone else choose the restaurant. Sit down in the middle of the day just because you feel like it. The world will keep spinning, and you might just feel lighter. Linda told me that learning to let go didn't happen all at once. It was a process. Some days she still catches herself trying to control things that don't need her supervision. But now she laughs at herself. She lets go again. That's the practice. Not a one-time release, but a gentle, daily surrender. And here's the reward: peace that lasts longer than any clean kitchen, the joy that lingers longer than a perfect schedule. So, be lazy about control. Let life surprise you. You might just find that the less you grip, the more beauty shows up in your hands. So here we are. We've talked about the 5 things you can be a little lazier with. And now, maybe you're sitting with that idea. Maybe you're even feeling a little lighter already. Let's take a deep breath together. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to carry everyone's burdens, fix every problem, or meet every expectation. You've done enough, you've tried hard enough, and now it's time to let go. Let go of the voice that says you're only valuable when you're productive. Let go of the pressure to hold everything together. Let go of the idea that peace comes from effort. Because here's the truth, peace is not something you earn, peace is something you allow. When you stop trying to prove yourself, life opens up. When you stop chasing people, approval, or control, you find something better. You find space, you find clarity, you find joy in the little things. Think about the people you admire most in their later years. Are they rushing around? Are they arguing, hustling, trying to be right all the time? No. They are usually the ones who smile more, breathe deeper, and speak with softness. That is not a weakness, that is wisdom. I remember my neighbor Helen. She used to spend hours in her garden, humming while trimming roses. One day I asked her, "How do you stay so calm?" She smiled and said, "Because I finally stopped trying to fix things I never had control over." That stayed with me. You've earned the right to relax, to enjoy your life without apology, to stop running and just be. So breathe again. Let go of what does not serve you, and welcome the beautiful, simple freedom of letting things be. So here we are, at the end of this little journey together. We've covered 5 areas of life where doing less might bring you more joy. Let go of worrying about what people think. Stop forcing relationships that drain you. Release the urge to fix others. Quit chasing folks who don't value you, and ease up on the need to control everything. It's not about giving up, it's about making space for peace, for ease, for what matters. Life isn't asking you to be perfect, it's asking you to be present. You've spent decades holding things together. Now is your time to breathe, to notice the birds, to sit in a quiet room and feel good just being alive. You're not behind, you're right on time. So let this be your permission slip to live a little slower, a little softer, and a whole lot freer. If any part of this message spoke to you, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment and let us know which lazy habit you're ready to embrace this week. Sometimes your story is exactly what someone else needs to hear. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. We're building a space for thoughtful, heart-centered living, gentle reminders, honest conversations, and a little more peace in your day. Thanks for being here, truly.